Today, we're looking at Noodler's Legal Blue. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Noodler's Legal Blue is a blue ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Lamy All-Star with a 1.1 stub to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. We see that it looks like just a normal blue ink. We see some light turquoise along the bottom. It works its way up. We see the blue that is this ink, and it travels a normal distance, so everything looks fine. But the one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And it looks like I let it dry for days. You see the pencil line across the top is where I stopped the water, because this ink, in 10 minutes, completely bonded with the paper and would not budge. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it doesn't even notice that it got highlighted. You put it over, it's still an extra fine line. Nothing has changed. Perfect ink for a note taker that does do a bunch of highlighting. Water, you can't tell that I even tested it. It didn't even notice the water. It has the same results of what we saw with the highlighter. Pen flush moved some of the ink. You see that it started to pick up the lighter tones and shift them around. But if it hadn't shifted off of the smear, you might not even be able to tell that I was using pen flush to try and move it. Bleach, no effect whatsoever. This is permanently bonded with the paper. All this means to me is check this ink in a more inexpensive pen before you go and put it into your expensive pens. But it also means that this is a very good ink to use on legal documents, signing checks, because it is not being moved, it's not being changed. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Legal Blue has a viscosity of 2.64, making it normal. To find my average dry time, I use my writing samples done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper with the extra fine and medium nib. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Noodler's Legal Blue has an average dry time of 6 seconds, making this a very fast drying ink. This is an aggressive ink to get into the paper. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form. And it's like my 4th sample of this. I really need to get a bottle of it. I just don't need a bottle of it because I only ever, I need it when I need it, but not all the time. I really should get a bottle because I've just gone through a number of samples, but I just don't need a bottle of it. But for what it does, it's great. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at Clairefontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Look at how distinctive this blue is. I've never seen another blue like this blue. This is, to me, the most distinctive blue that I've used. Now, it's light. It's not super dark. But it's nice. This is my go-to on signing contracts. Like I said, I've had to go through a number of samples of this with buying homes and anything else. The extra fine, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. That should tell you something about this ink. It's the exact same tone as the 1.1, but 4 seconds to dry on Clairefontaine. The exact same tone with the medium, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 4 seconds to dry. The extra fine and the medium scrubby both give us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared it. Rhodia, no bleeding. We do have ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. I don't think it looks good here, but I don't know anybody that uses Rhodia to do contracts. Again, that's what I look at with this ink. I'm assuming it would be great for in labs because it's so permanent. The extra fine is the exact same tone, no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. 8 seconds on Tomoe River. 8 seconds. Amazing. The medium, same tone, no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry on Tomoe River. Amazing. And the scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get any. The smear test, you couldn't recover it if you smeared it. So, Rhodia. Now, Rhodia shows no bleeding, no ghosting. But again, my notes, I go to take notes, and I do have a bunch of bleed spots. I do have a bunch of ghosting. It did not touch the page underneath. It does, to me, make the back of the page unusable. I am not writing a book with this ink. That's a 1.1. I wouldn't really sign contracts in it. That was just the pen that was up. Lamy Safari with a 1.1 stub. But this ink, while the tone of the color of the ink is not something I want to use all the time, I like that it's different for signing contracts, and I like how permanent and fast it is. No bleeding, no real ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone of blue with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 5 seconds to dry. The medium has the exact same tone of blue with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 6 seconds to dry. This is great. This is a great ink. This is an ink everybody should have. Just because you have stuff you have to sign at the bank, buy a car, signing checks. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. The smear test, you could recover it. Does it do anything if it goes on yellow Rhodia? Well, it's an aggressive ink, and we see spots where it's starting to come through. We saw a lot of spots where it was starting to come through on the white. It's just coming through the yellow more. We do have ghosting. It's an aggressive ink. It's surprising. What happens to the tone? Nothing. Absolutely nothing happens to the tone in anything that 1.1, extra fine, or medium. Exactly the same tone. The 1.1 still has no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine still has no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It still only takes 5 seconds to dry. I love when it can replicate results. It's not even just at that moment it was fast. The medium was no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 6 seconds to dry. The exact same tone all the way through the writing, all 3 nibs. And the scrubby shows us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. The smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing it. So White Lines paper, it's not the best paper, but it does well for its job. I wouldn't be taking notes with this, but what happens with some less expensive papers? Well, we get a lot of bleed. It doesn't come all the way through. It doesn't touch the page on the other side. It does not make... You cannot use the back of the paper for writing. So a ton of ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 1 second to dry. Now that's because I round to a second. That was like instant. The medium is the exact same tone with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 1 second to dry. The scrubby, no color variation. And the smear test, you can't smear this ink. Great for legal purposes. Legal Blue, perfect name. I don't really go after permanent inks, but sometimes you need them, and this is a great one. What happens on Apica paper? Well, we get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. In the exact same tone for extra fine, no feather spread, halo, no sheen, no shade. 3 seconds to dry. We keep getting that very distinctive blue. It's not a normal blue. It's not powder blue. It's not baby blue. It's different somehow. Just different. 3 seconds to dry with the extra fine. Medium, no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. This is great. And it's a super consistent color. I would be interested to scan this swab into Photoshop and see if Photoshop can actually match the color, because I think this is a hard color to match. Another thing that I really like it's a hard tone to match. Because if you didn't know it, people have taken your signatures, not had the original documents, created a blue signature for legal purposes. You should look it up when a fountain pen won a court case on a woman's mortgage. It's interesting. Anyway, 4 seconds to dry on the medium. The scrubby shows us no color variation. We didn't get any color variation. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared it. That is all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Noodler's Legal Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And in this case, I wanted something that complemented its permanence as well. And I chose the Atramentis Archive because it's a very good black ink that stays in place. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. Now, what do I think of Noodler's Legal Blue? I think it's a distinctive shade of blue, which is very nice when signing contracts, when signing legal documents. It's a very good blue to use. It doesn't offer any kind of properties other than its incredible permanence. It has become my signing ink if I have to sign contracts, when I have to sign checks. This is an ink I enjoy using because I know it can't be changed, and the blue is not so common. Thanks for watching.